Thank you for joining me, folks. Right now, the President of Romania is going to be speaking live with President Trump.
Thank you for being here. It's an honor to welcome such a good friend of America to the White House. As you know, the people of Romania and America share much in common. A love of freedom, proud cultures, rich traditions, and a vast and storied landscape to call home. The relationship between our two countries stretches back well over a century. But today we especially reaffirm and celebrate our strategic partnership that began more than 20 years ago. That partnership covers many dimensions, including economic, military, and cultural ties. And today we are making those ties even stronger. Mr. President, your visit comes at an important moment, not just in this partnership, but among all of the responsible nations of the world. I have just returned from a historic trip to Europe and the Middle East, where I worked to strengthen our alliances, forge new friendships, and unite all civilized peoples in the fight against terrorism. No civilized nation can tolerate this violence or allow this wicked ideology to spread on its shores. I addressed a summit of more than 50 Arab and Muslim leaders, a unique meeting in the history of nations, where key players in the region agreed to stop supporting terrorism, whether it be financial, military, or even moral support. The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. And in the wake of that conference, nations came together and spoke to me about confronting Qatar over its behavior. So we had a decision to make. Do we take the easy road, or do we finally take a hard but necessary action? We have to stop the funding of terrorism. I decided, along with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, our great generals and military people, the time had come to call on Qatar to end its funding. They have to end that funding and its extremist ideology in terms of funding. I want to call on all of the nations to stop immediately supporting terrorism. Stop teaching people to kill other people. Stop filling their minds with hate and intolerance. I won't name other countries, but we are not done solving the problem, but we will solve that problem. Have no choice. This is my great priority because it is my first duty as president to keep our people safe. Defeating ISIS and other terror organizations is something I have emphasized all during my campaign and right up until the present. To do that, stop funding, stop teaching hate, and stop the killing. For Qatar, we want you back among the unity of responsible nations. We ask Qatar and other nations in the region to do more and do it faster. I want to thank Saudi Arabia and my friend King Salman and all of the countries who participated in that very historic summit. It was truly historic. There has never been anything like it before, and perhaps there never will be again. Hopefully it will be the beginning of the end of funding terrorism. It will therefore be the beginning of the end to terrorism. No more funding. I also want to thank the Romanian people for everything they contribute to our common defense and to the fight against the evil menace of terrorism. They have their own difficulties with it, and they've come a long way, and they're doing a lot. Romania has been a valuable member of the coalition to defeat ISIS, and it's the fourth largest contributor of troops in Afghanistan. There, 23 of your citizens have paid the ultimate price, and America honors their sacrifice. I want to recognize President Iohannis for his leadership in committing Romania this year to increase its defense spending from 1.4% of GDP to over 2%. We hope our other NATO allies will follow Romania's lead on meeting their financial obligations and paying their fair share for the cost of defense. But I will say this, that because of our actions, money is starting to pour in to NATO. The money is starting to pour in. Other countries are starting to realize that it's time to pay up, and they're doing that. Very proud of that fact. As you know, I have been an advocate for strengthening our NATO alliance through greater responsibility and burden sharing among member nations. And that is what is happening. Because together we can confront the common security challenges facing the world. Mr. President, I want to applaud your courage and your courageous efforts in Romania to fight corruption and defend the rule of law. This work is necessary to create an environment where trade and commerce can flourish and where citizens can prosper. I look forward to working with you to deepen the ties of both commerce and culture between our two countries. Romanians have made contributions to the United States and to the world. Very notable among them was Nobel Prize laureate Elie Wiesel, who was born in Romania and sadly passed away almost 1 year ago. And I understand that earlier this week, the American Jewish Committee presented President Iohannis with its very prestigious Light Unto the Nations Award for his work to further Holocaust remembrance and education in Romania. I joined the AJC in saluting your leadership in this vital cause. The people of Romania have endured many, many hardships, but they have made a truly remarkable historical journey. The future of Romania and Romania's relationship with the United States is very, very bright. President Iohannis, I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you again for being here today. I look forward to strengthening our alliance with your country and our bonds with your people. The relationship has been good, but now it's stronger than ever. Thank you very much.
President Trump, thank you so much for the words you found for Romania, for the Romanian people, and for me. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here today with you, and thank you so much for arranging this nice weather in this place. Mr. President, I'm very glad that we had such a good meeting, and this is due to your strong leadership, and this is also due to our strong partnership. Obviously, fact that we celebrate 20 years of strategic partnership this year is important for both our nations, and it is important to know, and this is what I want to underline, that this partnership with the United States of America shaped Romania as it is today. Romania, a solid democracy with a solid, sustainable economic growth. Romania, which stands together with the US troops in Afghanistan. We stand together in Iraq. Mr. President, this partnership contributed greatly to what Romania is today. And this partnership was and is very important. And I think this partnership not only has to continue, this partnership has to become stronger. This partnership has to define our bilateral relation, and this partnership has to contribute to solve so many problems. President Trump, you mentioned terrorism. I'm very glad that due to your strong leadership, NATO decided to go against terrorism. Your involvement made so many nations conscious of the fact that we have to share the burden inside NATO. And this is why Romania also decided, and if I'm right, I think this is the first country during your mandate to step up to 2% of GDP for defense spending. A significant part of this defense spending is going into strategic acquisitions, and I hope, President Trump, that we find good ways together to make good use of this money. Romania is very conscious of the fact that we stand on the eastern flank, and we heavily rely on your partnership, President Trump, because we cannot stand there without the US. We cannot stand there alone. On the other hand, our partnership has a huge opportunity to step up not only in security matters, but also in commercial and economic matters. And this is very important. Romania is a member of the European Union, and I think it's the best interest of you, Mr. President, to have a strong European Union as a partner. This is vital for all of us. Our relationship, the transatlantic link, is vital. Transatlantic link is not about diplomacy, about policy. It's at the basis of our Western civilization, and together we will make it stronger, together we will make it better. NATO and the European Union do not have to compete against each other. They have to work together. They have to work in such a manner as to produce synergetic effects, make NATO stronger, make Europe stronger, make the United States of America stronger. And this is what we decided, President Trump and I, to make our partnership stronger, better, more enduring. And this will lead very soon to an enhanced economic exchange, to better commerce. And this is what we all decide and what we wish, because we are responsible, President Trump and I, not only for the security, we are responsible for the well-being of our citizens, and this is what we are decided to do. Thank you so much, President Trump.
Thank you. Dave Boyer, Washington Times, please. Dave.
Thank you.
Come on, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. President. Apologies.
That's all right, Dave.
Mr. President, this morning on Twitter, you were referring to the testimony of James Comey vindicating you. But I wondered if you could tell us in person, sir, why you feel that his testimony vindicated you when it's really boils down to his word against your word. And if you could also tell us, sir, do tapes exist of your conversations with him?
Well, I'll tell you about that maybe sometime in the very near future. But in the meantime, no collusion, no obstruction. He's a leaker. But we want to get back to running our great country. Jobs, trade deficits, we want them to disappear fast. North Korea, big problem. Middle East, a big problem. So that's what I am focused on. That's what I have been focused on. But yesterday showed no collusion, no obstruction. We are doing really well. That was an excuse by the Democrats who lost an election that some people think they shouldn't have lost, because it's almost impossible for the Democrats to lose the Electoral College, as you know. You have to run up the whole East Coast and you have to win everything as a Republican, and that's just what we did. So it was just an excuse. But we were very, very happy. And frankly, James Comey confirmed a lot of what I said. And some of the things that he said just weren't true. Thank you very much. Do you have a question?
Thank you. And Mr. President, if you could tell us, a couple weeks ago, President Trump was in Brussels at the NATO meeting, and not only was he encouraging NATO members to pay up the 2% required of GDP for national defense, but he also was saying that countries, including yours, who had not paid 2% in the past, should make up for that difference. Do you think that's fair?
I was in Brussels, and I met President Trump, and I listened to his speech, and I liked it. Because, you see, NATO is based on values, but it is ultimately a military alliance. And you know, military spendings are complicated, and you need a lot of money. Because NATO is the strongest alliance the earth ever saw, and we want to keep it that way. So we have to spend money for defense purposes. And spending money means if you're in alliance, everybody has to spend money. This is called burden sharing. And I fully agree, Mr. President, to that. So of course, some people liked this better and some didn't like it so much, but it's a simple fact that we have to do this, not as a purpose in itself. We have to do this to stay strong, to be strong, and to defend our nations.
100% correct. And you know, one of the things I was referring to during that speech was the fact that yes, they haven't paid what they should be paying now, but for many years they haven't been paying. So I said, do we ever go back and say, how about paying the money from many, many years past? Now I know no president has ever asked that question, but I do. We're going to make NATO very strong. You need the money to make it strong. You can't just do what we've been doing in the past. So I did say, yes, you haven't paid this year, but what about the past years, the many past years where you haven't paid? Perhaps you should pay some or all of that money back. You have a question?
Thank you. I have a question for President Trump. On the matter of security, sir, many of the countries on the eastern flank of NATO, including Romania, see Russia as a threat to the security and the peace in the region. Do you share this vision, and do you think that United States should act under Article 5 if any of this country will be under military aggression? Thank you very much.
Well, I'm committing United States and have committed, but I'm committing the United States to Article 5. And certainly we are there to protect. And that's one of the reasons that I want people to make sure we have a very, very strong force by paying the kind of money necessary to have that force. But yes, absolutely, I'd be committed to Article 5.
Thank you, Mr. President. Were there any discussion about the visa waiver program for Romania? Is there a time frame for including our country in this program? Thank you.
We didn't
Yes.
discuss it. We didn't discuss it, but there would be it would be something we will discuss, Mr. President.
I mentioned this issue, and I also mentioned it during other meetings I had, because this is important for us, it's important for Romanians who want to come to the United States. And you see, more and more people come, President Trump, from Romania to the United States. Some come as tourists, some come for business, and those who come for business should be encouraged. So the matter of visa waiver would be probably important to discuss, and we all hope that we will advance on this.
Well, I look at those hands up there, President. Do you have this in Romania too? I don't know.
Yeah, I got the microphone.
Oh, boy.
If you allow me,
If I could only sell that. If I could only sell it. Who would like to ask? Should I take one of the killer networks that treat me so badly as fake news? Should I do that? Huh? Go ahead, John. Be fair, John.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember how nice you used to be before I ran? Such a nice man.
Always fair. Mr. President, I want to get back to James Comey's testimony. You suggested he didn't tell the truth in everything he said. He did say under oath that you told him to let the Flynn, you said you hoped the Flynn investigation, you could let...
I didn't say that.
So he lied about that.
Well, I didn't say that. I mean, I will tell you, I didn't say that.
And did he ask you to pledge his
And there'd be
loyalty?
nothing wrong if I did say it, according to everybody that I've read today, but I did not say that.
And did he ask for a pledge of loyalty from you? That's another thing he said.
No, he did not.
So he said those things under oath. Would you be willing to speak under oath to give your version of those events?
100%. I didn't say under oath. I hardly know the man. I'm not going to say, I want you to pledge allegiance. Who would do that? Who would ask a man to pledge allegiance under oath? I mean, think of it. I hardly know the man. It doesn't make sense. No, I didn't say that, and I didn't say the other.
So if Robert Mueller wanted to speak with you about that,
I would be glad to tell him exactly what I just told you, Jim.
And you seem to be hinting that there are recordings of those conversations.
I'm not hinting anything. I'll tell you about it over a very short period of time. Okay? Okay. Do you have a question here?
When will you tell us about the
Over a
recordings?
fairly short period of time.
Are there tapes, sir?
Oh, you're going to be very disappointed when you hear the answer. Don't worry. John, do you have a question for the president?
Yes. Thank you. And President Johannes, you are no stranger to Russian aggression. Vladimir Putin recently suggested that Romania could be in Russia's crosshairs. How concerned should the world be about Russian aggression in your region, and how concerned should we be here in the United States about what Russia tried to do in our election, sir?
Everybody's concerned. But you see, being concerned should lead you to being prepared. So in my opinion, we have to be very clear, very simple, and very straightforward if we talk about Russia and with Russia. In my opinion, we need dialogue. But on the other hand, we need what we all together decided in NATO, a strong deterrence. So this combination, strong deterrence and dialogue, should lead towards a solution which is feasible for every part. Domnul Pantazi.
Hello, Mr. President Trump. You mentioned
you mentioned earlier the anti-corruption fight in Romania. It is a matter of high importance in our country. But we see now that the anti-corruption fight and the efforts to consolidate the rule of law are sometimes undermined by some politicians, part of what we can call the Bucharest swamp. Is your administration going to support the anti-corruption fight in Romania, and how can you do it? Thank you.
Well, we support very strongly Romania, and therefore, obviously, we do support that fight on anti-corruption. We will always support that, and we support your president. We think he's done an outstanding job. Very popular, very solid, working very hard. We know everything that's going on, and and he's going to win that fight. He's going to win that battle, but he has our support.
Corruption in Romania as a problem for the U.S.-Romania partnership and for the American investor as a threat, because we still have corruption in Romania despite this anti-corruption fight.
Well, you do, but I can tell you that there are many American investors right now going to Romania and investing. In fact, I was given a chart just before our meeting, and we have people going over to Romania and investing, and they weren't doing that a number of years ago. So that shows very, very big progress, and there really are a lot of congratulations in store. But a lot of people are investing from our country to yours, and people love from Romania the United States, and they come here a lot, and we're very proud of them. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Trump, the Romanian president there, making a lot of news for an event of this kind. 4 items that came to my mind. On the matter of James Comey's testimony yesterday, the president says that his testimony shows no collusion, no obstruction, and he says Comey's a leaker. On tapes, he has made this suggestion in the past. He says he wasn't hinting on the matter, but he's made a suggestion in the past that there might be tapes of conversations at the White House. He says, I'll tell you about that sometime in the near future, and then he said to reporters, you'll be disappointed in the answer. The president notably said he is committed to Article 5 of the NATO Charter, meaning one will support all, and that, in essence, with these eastern flank nations there, including Romania, they see themselves as under threat from the Russians, and President Trump adding his support to Article 5, which he did not do in a recent overseas trip. And then finally, the president is willing to speak under oath with counsel regarding the Pledge of Loyalty, which James Comey says he requested, and the investigation into Michael Flynn. John Roberts, our senior White House correspondent, is live for us there and was at the president's news conference there. John, some items of great note in today's world.
There really was. First of all, Shep, I think that the president called out Qatar in a way that no other American president has before, saying that he was encouraged by Saudi Arabia to have some very frank talks with the Emir Al Thani of Qatar about terrorist financing, saying that we just can't tolerate this, and he had the full support of many of those Arab states. That was a little bit of a surprise right off the top here, and Secretary Tillerson had talked about the impact that the blockade of Qatar has been having on our military operations in the region, but the president, with no apology there, saying Qatar really has to step up here and end terrorist financing. That was, of course, one of the biggest things that I think the president was talking about this afternoon. This idea, too, that he said that he would be happy to go speak with Robert Mueller, the special counsel, about everything that he said with James Comey during those conversations in the Oval Office and the private dinner and over the telephone. We have not heard him say that before, Shep. And on the existence of these tapes, of course, now he's got everybody guessing when he may or may not confirm the existence of such tapes. I don't know of any taping system in the Oval Office. There might be a taping system when he makes phone calls. I don't know that there would be a taping system in the Blue Room, which is where, or the Green Room, I believe, where he had the dinner with James Comey. But the president giving us a little bit of a tantalizing tease there, Shep, to say that he'll be telling us very soon, answering questions about the tape. Shep?
And he said we wouldn't like the answer, so maybe we can figure out, do we want there to be tapes or do we want there not to be tapes? Because that way we'll know which it is.
Perhaps. Again, we're kind of guessing here.
Whoa, everybody. Hold your horses. Man. Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thanks, everybody, for joining me on the Michael Tobin Show. Romania, ISIS defeated, reality winner, and your children and more. Man, what a way to start this broadcast. I wanted to have my friend Craig C. White, but we can save that for a couple more days because ISIS is being defeated and he is a Bible prophecy expert. He's been on my show for a few times. But man, we have the president of Romania at the White House with a podium and Donald Trump with a podium, and he graciously introduced the Romanian president as a partner against terrorism, and he had quite a few more words to say about the Romanian president than the Romanian president gave his words. And what a welcome to a dignitary from another country in Europe. What a welcome. Did you hear the questions? Comey's tapes. Was there tapes? And they just hammered him. The first 3 or 4 questions. Finally, the only 2 reporters were of Eastern European descent, spoke very good English, and they stuck to the subject about the Romanian guests. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when the subject is about something? You stick with the subject. Aren't they interested? No, they're not, because they have to wait 2 or 3 or 5 days before their sheep herders and their masters tell them what to think, and then they start talking about things. But they do not even have the decency, the self-respect, or the courtesy that is not so common anymore with them, the mainstream media. They have no courtesy at all. They've got no soul. They're just wretched. What a disgrace. Disgusting disgrace. MSNBC, CBS, CNN, ABC. All you people are a bunch of whiny freaks. No, your listeners do not know how valuable airtime is. All the commercials. And that brings to mind that all these things, events, tragic events that are happening, it only serves your organizations for listeners, ratings, and higher charges to companies to advertise on your channels. This is all terrorism means to you people. It's obvious to some of us that all these horrible events, you don't care about the children at a concert in Manchester and people being mowed down on the London Bridge and stabbed. You don't care about them. All it serves is for your organizations to get ratings and for you to further your socialist and communist goals for our country, because it is so ripe. Our nation is so wealthy, though many more of us are unemployed, but our nation is so wealthy that you think that money grows on trees. If you only knew, if you were to get your way, the people that would leave while they are still allowed to leave. Socialism, there's plenty of people in our country that came from socialist countries that say, been there, done that. That's why I am here. That's why I am an American. Look at Jim Carrey, all the trash that he talks about our country. He thinks that we're so big that he could just talk all the trash that he wants, because look who he's involved with. he won't dare go against the grain with his people. He comes from a socialist country, Canada. By the way, I've got something that I want to talk about them also in this show. So I'm just going to go to my notes and carry on about ISIS being defeated. What does Craig C. White say? I can't repeat it enough. There's a photo of two Iraqi soldiers back to back with their automatic rifles in West Mosul, and the place is just in rubbles. Mosul is where the biblical Nineveh is at. And I want to read what my friend Craig C. White says. The Iraqi army has pushed ISIS into just 3 remaining neighborhoods in western Mosul. There are an estimated 200,000 civilians still trapped inside of these neighborhoods. Food and water is scarce. ISIS is shooting anybody who is caught trying to escape. ISIS has barricaded the narrow streets, and so on and so on and so on. They've had months of preparation for all who can escape to escape because their time is running near. My friend says that the prophet Nahum predicted the flooding of ISIS in Mosul, which is yesteryear's Nineveh. In the book of Nahum in the Old Testament in the Bible, chapter 1, verse 8, but with an overrunning flood he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. Nahum says that ISIS will be gathered closely together when they are destroyed by a flood of water. In Nahum chapter 1, verse 10, it says, for while they be folden together as thorns, and while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble fully dry. And my friend continues, today ISIS is gathered closely together in the old city neighborhood of western Mosul. Nahum says that ISIS will be drunk at the end of their last stand. And when he says ISIS, he means what was then described in the Bible is ISIS now. Nahum says that the prophet Nahum says that the gates of the Tigris River will be opened and the palace will be dissolved. Well, the Tigris runs north and runs south from north. And there is a dam in Mosul, and that blocks the Isis River from freely flowing. And that dam is in such disrepair that experts have already said that it could collapse any time, or it could be damaged in many different ways. So Nahum says the gates of the Tigris River will be opened and the palace will be dissolved. In chapter 2, verse 6 of Nahum, the gates of the river shall be opened and the palace shall be dissolved. Now, when it says the gates of the river shall be opened, that means that there's a dam. There wasn't a dam back then. The only dam that there is there now was built in the 1980s. So my friend says that Nahum is identifying the Al-Nuri Mosque as the palace in the verse above. There is now renewed concern about the safety of the Mosul Dam. And he says, read my commentary through the Old Testament book of Nahum titled The End of ISIS is Near. And you could find that at hightimetoawake.com. Can't really say anything more to convince you of what's actually going to happen. That dam is going to be destroyed one way or t'other. Okay? And ISIS will be destroyed. And a few weeks ago, the Iraqi government said that within weeks, ISIS is going to be destroyed. And while this is going on, this may be breaking news while I'm even speaking to you, because we've got plenty of distractions. We've all heard about distractions, right? Every time some type of a political upheaval or uproar happens, it is proven that it is a distraction for what is going on behind closed doors. Well, while everybody was listening to former FBI head James Comey yesterday, actually 2 days ago it started, Congress passed a bill about the Dodd-Frank bill. And that has a lot to do with the banks and the bankers and accountability. Well, they passed a bill that passed, and now it's on its way to the Senate. And it's a 50-50 chance, experts say, that it will pass the Senate and then go on to be signed. I think it's going to pass the Senate, and it will be signed because there are more distractions to come. Look at all the questions that they asked. The rude reception that they had with what's going on with James Comey. It's all a song and a dance, folks. It's all a show. You know what? I haven't heard anybody say. I've said it in a couple of my shows recently. I've even posted it on social media that James Comey, his life quite possibly was saved by Donald Trump firing him. Because obviously nobody is dying under the Donald Trump administration, but look at all the people who died during bankers so supposedly committing suicide, and all kinds of reporters dying. A member of the Hillary Clinton campaign for president dead. Many people dead. So obviously this isn't the kind of administration that is threatening people's lives. Otherwise, why would the media be so brave? So the media say what they're told to say. They don't say what they're told not to say, because if they say what they're told not to say, and if they don't say what they're told to say, they bite the bullet. That's all there is to it. So, man, I'm in such a rage. I got to keep on focus, Mike. But these distractions, while these distractions are happening, as you're listening right now, any second breaking news could happen. Do you know that the last Paris attack that happened, there was a national security exercise going on, and there are European reporters who said we literally had to go from one narrative of national security exercises to the absolute reality of a real attack of the very same thing the exercise was taken about, and the same place. So they had to go from reporting an exercise to reporting the actual truth. And a lot of people, if you read certain news articles or watch things on YouTube, it's pointed out time after time after time after time. And even the 22nd of the month is a popular day for terrorist attacks to happen. But they surmise that because many of these attacks happen during national security exercises in all these given countries, including the United States, that it is planned by the New World Order or by the government. No, I say that just like this lady, Reality Winner is what they're calling her, she's a leaker, okay? Even last year when she was still in the Air Force, she put a thumb drive in a computer and downloaded top secret information. But to this day, the military says supposedly that they don't know what the information was, but she did put a thumb drive and download some information from a military computer. So there are people in every form of government, just like this lady, and they have access to information So what the enemy is doing is they are planning attacks on same days and same locations as national security exercises. It's not false flag government things. It is things that are happening that obviously our governments are not able to combat. But the first notable person as a serious leaker is this Reality Winner, this lady named Reality Winner. Just Google her name and you'll see all of the things that even led to her not even being able to be released on bail, because she's a flight risk, and the military and other experts say that there is no telling what she may do because she has so much information in her head. They already confiscated her cell phones or cell phone and computers. And this story is developing, and originally part of my What the Heck is Going On series, I actually changed the title of that one, and I changed it to Reality Winner and Stuff Part 1. So this one right here is titled ISIS Defeated, Reality Winner, Your Children and More. I'm going to add a Part 2 on that. So another distraction of something that is real. The James Comey subject is a distraction, but it is real. And between these two events with James Comey and Reality Winner, this is going to last another few days. So I'm predicting that within 5 days the Mosul dam is going to break. It's either going to break or it's going to be destroyed. And months ago, when I had my friend Craig C. White on the show, I told him I think that Russia is going to destroy it with one of their fighter jets. And my friend Craig neither agreed nor disagreed. But he says that it's either going to be destroyed and they'll be flooded, or God is going to allow some great floods and storms to actually do it. So whether it's going to be destroyed by man or whether it's going to be destroyed by flood, it's going to happen, and ISIS is really going to be defeated. And people, writers and journalists have had so long now to research and study. Now they're saying, well, if ISIS is defeated in Mosul, the group ISIS isn't going to be totally destroyed. Well, they say that if you cut the snake off, the snake's head off, you destroy the whole snake. That's one theory, because the head of ISIS is in Mosul. Or he may have escaped, but if you look at all the possible scenarios, my friend Craig C. White says that it is more likely that he actually is still in Mosul, because all of the other scenarios don't make sense. That he would be unable to escape with all the surveillance going on. So I've covered surprise coverage of Donald Trump and the Romanian president at the beginning. I've covered on the show ISIS defeated. I've covered Reality Winner. Now let's go to Your Children. Speaking of Canada, Jim Carrey's homeland. Oh man, this is just. What about Tulsi Gabbard? I was on her side a little bit for a while, but now she's joined as a founding member an organization called the Sanders Institute, which consists of a few notable professors and a few notable other intellects, as well as even Danny Glover. And it's called Meet Our Fellows. It's the Sanders Institute, and Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat, she she was active during the presidential elections as a Sanders supporter, and I went to her website and I actually saw some weird thing that the web host was some weird organization. So anyways, she's got some weird people behind her, and she is really going off the deep end now. And she's doing a totally 100% socialist and communistic driven. And what I thought was pretty admirable of her to travel to Syria recently, and for her reaction that were wrong about trying to defeat their president at this time. I was thinking, you know what, maybe she is a level-headed Democrat, but she's not. She's a wolf in sheep's clothing. So she's a state of Hawaii congressional representative. But anyways, as I'm looking for an Ontario, Canada law. And this is from Franklin Graham of the Samaritan's Purse, who I am a part of the organization with Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team, and you can read my information on how you can help me. But today he writes, "Listen up and wake up, Christians of Canada. Ontario has just passed Bill 89 that says parents could be accused of discrimination and abuse if they don't go along with their children's gender expression," end quote. Can you imagine having the government take your children away if your children decided they felt like switching their gender identity and you disagreed? Well, folks, if I may intervene here, interrupt, that's what childhood is. And when the child turns 18 years old, then they go on to make their own decisions. But while they're in the household, parents look out for the best interest of their children and they raise them to the best of their ability. So I'm going to continue with what Franklin Graham has written. This law is not supported by science, scripture, logic, research, experience, or common sense. This is totalitarian and oppressive. I hope Bible-believing churches and Christians across Canada will stand against this wicked law that has been pushed by progressives. And this is another example of why who we vote for on the local, provincial, and national levels is so important. And the U.S. had better be on guard against laws like this being pushed right here in our own backyard. So that's our children, folks. New Ontario law allows government to seize children if parents oppose their gender identity. So be in prayer and watch for that. So that covers it all. And another surprise subject for this show is that Bernie Sanders, he voted to not accept a certain person for the financial industry of the United States to be appointed in position because of his Christian faith. And he asked him questions as a litmus test, and it is clearly stated, you could Google it and read it for yourself, that you cannot use a religious litmus test for political appointing or office. By the same standards that Bernie Sanders was talking to this person, it would eliminate any Muslim politician from qualification. But you don't see that, and I'm not going to get into that. You know what it is. maybe one of these. I don't even like researching one thing and sticking on one subject for a whole show. I'm giving you guys subjects, and you can go ahead and check it out yourself. But it is totally unconstitutional. So, who is it? Pastor Robert Jeffress, one of the only few sane religious advisors that are on President Donald Trump's team. He's a pastor in Texas. He is calling for the resignation of Bernie Sanders. Oh, God, that would be so cool if Bernie Sanders would just resign. I was more in favor of Bernie Sanders when he was running for president. Way more. I mean, I had zero capacity for acceptance for Hillary Clinton, but what Bernie Sanders was running on, much of it I agreed with. But the thing is, with these politicians, they say anything. They will say what they don't even believe if they believe it would get them elected. So far with Donald Trump, every time that somebody does an inquiry and an investigation into accusations against him, they find out that he really does mean what he says, which is amazing. But they always find out that the very accusers are the ones guilty of what they are accusing Donald Trump of. So we're living with a rare instance of a president, and so far, because of everything that is on the news, I mean, some people must be easily swayed, but a lot of the young people especially are swayed towards believing everything that is said against President Donald Trump. And the ones that all of these accusations are originating from are the ones that are 70 years old and older, into their 80s, and that are about to die, so they're getting ruthless and more ruthless before they die. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to become socialists. We're not going to become communists. So you guys might as well just try to die in peace, okay? Hillary Clinton, 69 years old. Bill Clinton, 70 or 71 years old. You guys just give it up. Give it up. All right, you guys. I want to go ahead and sign this off. I've gone on for 57 minutes. About 10 minutes of it was probably Donald Trump and the Romanian president, and the very rude reception of the American mainstream media. So I'll claim 47 minutes of it right now. But anyways, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day.